Now for the very latest on the Labor leadership spill, it's back to David Speers.
Suzanne, thank you. We're going to cross now to Tony Windsor, Independent MPs, Darling Harbour, at a water symposium that's been going on there. Tony Windsor, of course, and the other independents are crucial in any question about whether Kevin Rudd, if he does get the leadership, would be able to keep the government in power. Tony Windsor, thanks for your time. I understand you have spoken to Kevin Rudd. He called you before leaving Washington. Can you give us any insight into what he had to say, what the pitch was?
Well, not really, David. When I received the call, actually I happened to be sitting at a restaurant table with a couple of National Party people, and
you still talk
I left
to them,
that table pretty quickly. But I informed. Sorry?
You still talk to the Nats?
Sorry, David?
I was saying you're still happy to... You still sit down and have dinner with the Nats?
Oh, my word. Yeah, no, we've on a committee in Queensland looking at the fly-in, fly-out issue, and dinner with everybody. Probably have dinner with you one day. So the conversation didn't last long. I didn't want to really get into any of the nitty-gritty of the Labor Party leadership tussle, so I made that clear at the start of it, and Kevin understood that was fine.
Well, when it comes to the crunch, your position has always been that you're not going to guarantee support for Labor if they do change leaders. Can I ask you, though, the main argument we heard from you and from Rob Oakeshott back in 2010 after that hung Parliament outcome at the election was that you wanted stability. You wanted stability in government. Are we seeing stability on the Labor side?
Well, I think in the Parliament we are. I think there's a lot of very diligent people working on some long-term issues. Look at Greg Combay, for instance. Look at the work that he's been putting in. Jenny Macklin and some of her issues. Tanya Plibersek. There's a lot of hard work going on, and I'm more interested in that than the machinations of people's own career paths and whether they're going to win the next election or not. I've always worked on the philosophy that if you work hard during the term you happen to be in, you might stand a chance of being elected to the one you're not in. But this concentration by a few people on the next election, if they want to get to the next election, well, we can probably bring it on a bit quicker than what they think. But let's get some of these things that this Parliament, in a minority situation, has been prepared to have a good hard look at. They're not short-term advantageous politically. The Murray-Darling, I'm in here in Sydney at the moment talking to a forum on water politics, etc., the national broadband network, some of the climate change, renewable energy issues. There's a myriad of longer-term issues, and I would have thought the Australian people want people in the Parliament that are prepared to look after future generations rather than this sort of 24-hour news cycle nonsense we get of it's all got to happen in a minute.
Tony Windsor, it's Kieran here. I want to ask you about the politics of your situation. You've copped a lot of flack in New England for backing a Labor government. It actually, politically, wouldn't it be in your interest to say, if they change leader, OK, I'm pulling the pin, let's go to an election? It would actually suit you, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't look at being in politics in that sense, Kieran. That again would be a short-term view of the thing. I'd rather see some of these substantive issues bedded down, and they need a bit more time to do that. But that's my agenda, to try and get them bedded down. But if the Parliament or some people within the Labor Party think that the agreement with the Prime Minister is some sort of a transferable document that you can have a revolving door and we'll be in government for as long as we like, that's not right. That's not right. If there is a change, and I don't deny a political party the right to create change. We see it all the time. People aspiring to be leader and push others out of the way. That's a positive thing in politics. We don't do it with rifles. We do it with words. No, I don't have a problem with that, but the point I'm making is that they don't have... normally these things are played out in a majority situation. They don't have a majority. And if they want to play games on the margin about who's who in the zoo, well, they not having control of that majority may well mean that the agenda that they would prefer isn't deliverable.
What is the sort of feedback you're getting, though, from your constituents about the mess that we're seeing unfold, this civil war, this public battle that we're seeing within the Labor Party? Obviously, you get a lot of feedback. What are they telling you?
Well, we're not getting a lot. I think people are frustrated with it. They want to see government governing, the Parliament working. And I'm not trying to divert attention here, Kieran, but I think since the 24-hour news cycle has come in, there's this preoccupation on every moment of the day for a new issue to evolve. And, you know, the sorts of things that Greg Combay and others have been up to, they're long-term, hard work, plod stuff. You know, they don't make the headlines, but they are significant in terms of government. Now, people are saying they want to see the government at work. Well, there's a lot of people who are at work, and there's also some other people, both within the opposition, and that's their role, and within this current government, who don't want to see the work happening. They're more interested in not working this time, but being in a position to do some work next time. Well, this government was given an opportunity, a choice of two, or choice of three actually, a fresh election at the start was the other choice. It was given the opportunity to govern for this term. Now, if it doesn't want that, if there's people who'd rather go to one of the other options, well, come and have a yarn to us. Because, if this game goes on for too long, you may end up with that scenario of getting to the polls very quickly and finding out what the people think of it all.
Tony Windsor, can I ask you just finally, and it's getting back to that question about that I asked earlier, you wanted stability in government when you were negotiating with both sides. Can you really describe Labor as stable at the moment?
Well, it depends how you define stability. What we were talking about was essentially, was anybody prepared to try and govern in a circumstance, a hung parliament, for the term of the period? If both of them had said no, it'll be too hard, we don't think it's a good idea, we offered both of them a fresh election at the start. Now, it was pretty obvious that Tony Abbott, besides not having the personality to deal with a sort of a negotiated parliament, which has done a lot of positive things in my view, but it was pretty obvious that Julia Gillard, with her skill set, was able to do that. And I think even the harshest critics would say she's been able to get a lot of stuff done through the parliament that majority parliaments probably would have struggled with. So in that context, it was stability for the period of the 3 years. Obviously, you're going to have outbreaks of violence within party groups and political arenas in any parliament. I don't think you can just say that you rule that out in a hung parliament, but the risk they take at this particular occasion, if it starts to become a revolving door and ambushes again, they don't have control of the total agenda, and the agenda that they might think they're going to instigate, or Kevin Rudd in this case might think he's going to instigate, may well be taken out of his control.
Tony Windsor, Independent MP for New England, thank you for joining us today.